some people have received their benefits. Apparently, there's some kind of a path forward for opening the government. I mean, it appears, if my news feed is correct. Sometimes I get fake news stuff that I'm like, no, I know this is not true. I'm still shocked and have my doubts. I mean, it seems that it happened to us. We didn't have our benefits, and all of a sudden, boom, we did. They've never been late before. It's all automated. The vendors, everything is automated. But I mean, it happened. So, but I thought nobody will hold back SNAP benefits. It's political suicide. People have a long memory, especially when they can't eat. Look what happened during the Depression. Look what happened during Vietnam. People have a long memory. Look at World War II. Vietnam, the issues happening back then, it wasn't the same as World War II or Korea. There were other issues that people had long memories of losing their children. We lost more people in Vietnam than any of our wars, except perhaps reaching. No, actually, I take it back. Yeah, it's Vietnam and then World War II, and then Korea. Somewhere World War I is in there, and then Gulf War, 17 years of war. But ranking as far as losses to families and stuff. But yeah, the populace has a long memory when they can't eat and they're not deployed. And actually, veterans' families do have long memories, though. When stuff like that happens, they have long memories, and it affects re-enlistment. But how do I know this? Because before I did force protection, I didn't do re-enlistments, but I worked with the people that did, and I worked with the people that promoted. Actually, I take that back. I was one of the people who promoted people. I did all of the software transactions for an entire region, the dirt sailors, and helped with a couple of the subs. But that being said, it appears there's some kind of path forward. Hopefully, people sit at the table and talk. Why can't there be some sort of, limitations? A governor on ACA. I mean, I guess I can understand that. Give more control back to the people, but it's not overall a bad program. There's nothing wrong with insuring people. Maybe some kind of a hybrid between ACA and Obamacare, for those that don't know what ACA is. And, one of my personal favorites is Medishare programs, where people help, shoulder the cost of people. Generally they're Christian or, Jewish. It could be some kind of kibbutz type situation, here in the States or over there. Or monastic situations, where the fellow brothers and sisters in the monastery share the costs of their own, or they have insurers that they have group monastic or religious order, in particular HMO, and they share the cost of each other. The whole group pays, in together, a group policy. There's different stuff that they can do to tweak that, and then. At different points until we were, basically bankrupted and identity stolen and then targeted by so many different lawyers that target people who are victims of identity theft. I don't want to say that their practice is entirely this, but I've certainly found evidence of a couple of firms that it appears that they target people who are victims of identity theft. And I can't say this concretely, but it would appear that some of these debts may be related to people who, somehow give a pool to these firms. A pool of people. Oh yeah, these are all like identity theft victims. Litigate them. um, because so many people, especially in courts such as in Saginaw County, you're a victim of identity theft. They don't care. They'll say, "Well, why did you continue to pay your bill?" I've been to some of these hearings. I've sat through them. And, many of the judges, that's their attitude. Well, you continue to pay the bill. They don't realize, they're ignorant regarding technological crimes. Dashboards can be hacked. People can hack statements and alter statements. Everything is automated now, everything. And you're going to find a vast majority, I would say upwards, depending, on age group, up to half of the people, everything is electronic. They don't get stuff in the mail anymore. Why? Especially when some places give a discount. Oh yeah, you do electronic delivery of your your statement, and we'll give you a $3 discount each month. There's a lot of stuff like that out there, and it's easy. And there's also auto pay. Auto pay. People set their auto pay amount every month, or there's a certain range that they expect. They get a text or something like that from their bank, or they get a notification email. Oh yeah, 35 was just deducted for your credit card or your line of credit bill for the month of December 2020. And you're like, people would say, "Oh, I thought it would be 21, but it's 22. Okay, maybe there's some kind of interest or something." Many people, they're going to discount it, and they're not going to consider. And, many people you're going to find will not admit that they don't actually sit down and read through their receipts. Unless there's a great discrepancy that they can't grasp and can't figure out in their head, then they're going to sit down and read the statement. So, these judges, at least in Saginaw County, they're very obtuse, and they don't have any sympathy at all, in my experience. The ones that I've experienced, which are two. Two in person, and one I was blindsided. I didn't even know that such case existed. That was a default too, by the way. And also, you'll ask for the original documentation. And my experience on one case, I don't have a great depth of experience. This is only a couple of cases, but they'll send you off to conference and mediation, and they will still refuse to give you the original debt. Or they'll give you a photocopy of a couple of pieces of paper. They'll say, "Oh, this original debt right there." And it will say who they bought it from. But when you say, "Can I have a copy of the original debt? The charges, all of this stuff," they'll say, "Oh, we don't have to provide that." They say, "This is who we bought it from. This is a copy of the tapes." That's what they call them, tapes. Because some of these places are like 2,000 and 3,000 miles apart. One place, Crown Asset Management, they have offices like all over the U.S. And one particular alleged debt was bought and actually was processed in various stages and various electronic wiring through 3 different states. So, they'll say, "Well, this is right here. This is where we bought it from. This is the original debtor." That's it. You say, "Well, where's the original documentation of the debt, the charges, when it was opened, all of this stuff?" "Yeah, we have a date right here." But when you ask for the original documentation of anything, they don't have it. And they will find judges that are sympathetic to them and say, "Well, they don't have to provide it. They told you who it's from. Right there, you got a copy." Yeah, that's a copy of their contract to buy the debt. That's it. That's not a copy of the original debt documentation. So, all kinds of stuff. People will try to find gaps so they can screw people over, at least here. And so that being said, we're certainly being litigated by some of these folks. And some of them just went after my tax return. And that is what it is. But at least people have food, But this kind of thing is just unthinkable that people would do this kind of thing and make people starve. And it's wrong. And anybody who claims to be a person of faith and they're complicit with this, they're not really a person of faith. They're just using religion. I had a cousin who once made a very valid point. He said some people use religion to cloak um, their attitude and to hide. He's taking it from Marx, some of it, but they use it to hide. They use it to as a cloak to, to do whatever they want in life, and as a cloak to, kind of make themselves look better than everybody else because they're religious. It's a valid criticism, and but people who would let people starve, there's other ways around things. Like somebody brought it up to us today. They said, why can't people sit down and say, okay, these are the departments that are in, we have people suffering because they're not funded. Let's sit down and talk about them one by one. Let's jump off of their Lear jets and their, VIP, um, um, VIP limousines with escorts, so they can go to their estates in the Vineyard or in the Hamptons or wherever, the UP, um, and actually get some work done. And even if they can't quite do things the way they want, at least they're taking care of their constituents. That's the way I look at it. But that being said, there's a lot of different ways of compromise. I know my feeling is a lot of this, my gut instinct says, is about ACA. Any DACA issues, they've already railroaded that. It's just hopefully those people who have stood up and said, yeah, I was illegal, my parents, they just got legal, I'm doing this. Hopefully less of those people will be evicted because they're trying, or evicted, deported. They're trying to do the right thing. They deserve that opportunity to complete that. That's my opinion, because I've been just like them, only in another country. I stood up and said, look, my passport expired. I know I was far in the province. You always give us lenience. Well, my lenience kind of lasted a little bit longer uh, than you normally let us. The place where I was, people far in the deep, in the conflict areas, sometimes our passports, we don't get our renewal visa stamps. Um, Sometimes 2 or 3 months in arrears, and we got to pay the fees and then get things back the way they should be. Sometimes we have to exit and come back. It happens all the time because you're far from immigration, very far, and you're in conflict zone. So it's never a problem as long as you pay your fees. But my situation, it got a little bit worse than it normally does. But I did the right thing, and but these people who are trying, who tried or did try to do the right thing, they should, in my opinion, they shouldn't be deported. Neither should their parents, because they're all trying now to do the right thing. Um, it's a vast difference between somebody that joins the military or, somebody that opens a business doing something, um, and their papers aren't quite where they should be compared to somebody who's hiding. They were in a gang. They were trafficking people. They've committed all kinds of crimes. They've been on the run from not only ICE, but also various law enforcement for 6 months, a year, 3 years. This is night and day difference of the kind of people. But and again, I'm not in government service, so I don't really have any say about that. Some of these people are good people, some of these people that they have hidden this stuff for so long because they're overwhelmed. And fear does great things, freezing people in the middle of their tracks or pushing them back into the woods just like a deer. And You know, like I said, this is night and day difference compared to the kind of people that are a real threat to our society who are illegal. And I know there's a lot out there. Yes, there are a lot of very bad people who are illegal, but certainly not all. But anyway, there's a lot to deal with. You know, if this is shut down as bad as they say, hopefully they're sitting down at the table. And when it comes to ACA, people, you know, universal health care, I'm sure there's a middle ground where everybody's satisfied. And that's what I would hope for. You know, because what I've seen in Saginaw County and this area of the state, you know, people just, we've encountered some very evil people that just don't care and they will let people die. We've encountered people that use older people that have money and they use them until there's nothing left while they're dying. You know, we've seen great evil here. There is a I don't want to certainly say that everybody in this area is evil, but there is definitely a kind of darkness here. I've never seen this kind of thing. You know, and it's like I don't know, it's like predators, like moths being attracted to not a flame, moths being attracted to a silk blouse to eat. You know, it's I have never seen this kind of thing in my travels in the military or as a civilian. Um, and there's pockets, and they protect each other. There's pockets of these predators, and they really, really protect each other. And yeah, it's but people don't listen to me, so you know we have seen a lot, and you know probably people will be happy if I fall over dead because in the things I've seen will die with me. But we have seen a lot. You know, we've also seen people that people think they're gone forever. They're not. They're just retiring from public life. But we will never talk about that. And but my main concern is the evil of the day, the prince of the air, the prince of this time, and what his minions are doing. And it's surprising, even when the devil can quote scripture just as good as the most devout person.